Thanks for tuning in once again to another Friday night of college basketball coverage here on Proline TV. We are really getting close. That's right. This is the last Friday of February. The next time we talk on a Friday, it'll be officially March Madness. Matter of fact, a week from Friday, we're going to be counting the hours to the end of the regular season in college basketball. So we're all pumped up for that. College basketball tournaments begin in just a few days, and there's a lot of positive going on in college hoops. There's also quite a bit of negative. There really is. And we've talked quite a bit about that over the last few weeks, either on this show or on the Playbook ATS podcast, which you could check out every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Mark Lawrence hosts that along with Jim Feist and Andy Isco. And you could also check out our Wednesday show with Jim Feist. Of course, that's the Jim Feist handicapping show. And he's going to be having on a different handicapper every week for the entire month of March. And there's going to be a lot of college basketball talk from some independent top handicappers in the industry. So you want to check that out. And then we'll have some bonus coverage during the week as we get into the tournaments. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then for a few more weeks on this show, that's what we're going to do. We're going to let you know what the deal is as far as these are the tournaments that are going to begin. These are the odds to win the tournaments. These are some sleepers to keep an eye on, our official picks and so forth. So this is it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the only negative going on in college basketball this year, which it's important, and that is long shots, Cinderellas, sleepers, whatever you want to call it. Not a lot out there. Not a lot that you can realistically say, hey, such and such team can make the run and be Cinderella. You know, days of a George Mason making it to this Final Four, or even a Florida Atlantic for that case, it might even be hard to fathom. And I don't know what's going to happen to college basketball, but the good thing about it, we have to find a good part. The good thing is we've got more teams that have a chance more than ever to win a national championship going into the tournament. So I honestly believe we have anywhere from 15 to 20. So we're going to go over some of those teams in just a few. We also will have some of our top picks this week and let you know what we're doing with our futures. Let's actually start with that. We'll start with the futures because I got something I wanted to just pop up a new way to go about the futures. First of all, here are some of the odds for the futures. This is to make the Final Four. And what I'm going to do, I'll pop up actually, let's pop up the picks. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to try to make this as current as possible with the tournament starting soon. And that is not necessarily, hey, you know, what do my futures look like for the past few months? I mean, that's old, right? Let's now take a look at right now. You're getting invested in college basketball with March on the horizon, and you want to know, hey, I got some money to invest in futures. What do you suggest? So that's what we're going to do. Let me pop up the screen right now so you can see what I see. That would definitely help. Okay. And that's how we're going to go about doing it. So you've got the champion on the left and the Final Four on the right. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those odds again. Let me pop them up. All right, so starting in the Final Four, Purdue is like I was on the fence with Purdue, but 7-1, I don't know. I don't really see a whole lot of value there at this point in time because I might get 7-1 with the tournament beginning, and then at least I get to see the bracket. But Michigan State, with their big win over Purdue, I thought that was really important because it was on the road. And I thought that they really needed that win, Michigan State. And that's something that you're going to have to look at, and we've been talking about it for the past week or two, and it's really coming to head now more than ever this season, and that is teams that are playing for something and teams that aren't. So, for instance, the Michigan State-Purdue game, say what you want, but I did kind of feel Michigan State was playing more for that game because they really, like I said, I think they needed to prove they could go on the road and not only beat a good team, but beat a good team on the road. And so I thought that was important. I'm not really sure what was important for Purdue in that situation. Once again, that's just an angle. Look, there's a lot of teams play teams where they've got all the edge. The other team couldn't care less, and the couldn't care less team wins. All right. But it's just throwing it out there. All right. So anyway, big win for Michigan State. And that's why I definitely believe at about 9-10-1, they are a good Final Four pick. And then here are the others: Gonzaga, Nebraska, Vanderbilt. Is that it? Is that all we took? Oh, and Wisconsin. That's right. Slide Wisconsin in there. I am a little bit worried about Wisconsin. I tell you what, because it's Friday, we have to do it, but wait until I'd wait because those odds are not going to change on Wisconsin at all with the game against Washington, because they had a disappointing loss at Oregon. And again, what are we doing here? They're going to be in the tournament. We've got to go out west. We got to play these silly games. It's not even, these are teams that are not even really rivals. These are Pac-12 schools. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm not changing my mind about Wisconsin. So I would wait on that because maybe even get a better number if they do lose to Washington. I'm going to pick, I'm going to put a few bucks on Wisconsin in that matchup because it's only a point. But I'm just, again, at 28-1. Okay. So now some of the teams that did not put in the Final Four was because I already put them in the championship. So obviously, if I like them for the championship, I'm going to like them for the Final Four. Okay, and that includes, again, who did we have? Let's just double check. Nope, those are my picks. We're going to get to that in just a sec. There they are. Those are the 4 best valued championship teams right now. And I've been teasing Florida for the past few weeks, and the odds have not really dropped. So I said, you know what? Now's the time. And the thing is I will say this, though. It's going to be interesting to see if the line drops further because they're the best team in the SEC. So how much more proof do you need about what they can do? In other words, could you actually benefit to wait and maybe get an extra couple of points if they lose a game or two? Like, let's say they lose one game, go into the tournament, lose another game. Maybe you get 13-1, 14-1. I can see that logic. I really could. But I just felt at this point, like I said, if we're starting, hey, what's the best value out there today? We're starting from scratch. I'm definitely taking Florida at 11-1. All right. So Florida 11-1, Iowa State. I think they had enough proof to me that they were able to come up with those big wins. That was important. They have a interesting game against Texas Tech coming up, but it's the odds, really. I think Iowa State is every bit as talented and dangerous as Florida, which is example. And I'm getting 17-1. Kansas, meanwhile, this was a team that was about 18-1 not too long ago. And now you're getting 25-1. I think the big reason for that was the loss of Cincinnati, which I don't care. Kansas is playing Arizona. It's a revenge game for Arizona. They might wallop Kansas. And again, I don't care because Kansas is a talented team. They've got a great coach and they've had major wins. We'll get into that in a little bit. And St. John's too. They've been at this number all season. They had a 13-game winning streak going into UConn, and they still were pretty much about 60-1. So I don't know why, because they have the type of players that you can win a championship over a 2-week period. And they obviously have the coach to do it. Are they as deep and maybe deep and talented as some of these other top teams? Well, no, that's why you're getting a good number, but 70-1. Okay. So let's take a look at some of those other odds. Those are the Final Four odds, as we saw. And again, with Gonzaga, I think the thing with them is at 13-1. I look at that number like, oh, actually, I I did go ahead with Purdue. Okay, well, good for me. I did take Purdue at 7-1. All right, so the interesting teams there: Gonzaga, Nebraska, Vandy, especially Nebraska, Vandy, because these are teams that got off to great starts, and everybody was unsure just how good these teams were. Well, we kind of knew what was going on with Nebraska, but it's the Big Ten, so they were definitely going to come back down to earth, and they did. But now I think you should take advantage of it because, again, you got to win 4 games and you're in the Final Four. So you got to win 2 and then 2. They can do that. All right. That's what you're going with here. Same thing with Gonzaga and Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, remember last week we talked about the 2 players that were out, Miles and Collins. Well, Miles actually did come back that last weekend. And they're getting Collins back soon. And then they're going to be at full strength and looking a lot more like the team we saw in the beginning of the season. And so, yes, they are going to be a dangerous team. And then again, look, Gonzaga, to me, they are still, look, they're not anywhere near as talented and deep as some of these recent Gonzaga teams. But what they got going for them is their battle-tested pre-conference season. So Mark Few does that. He goes and he takes on all challengers. He toughens them up as much as possible because he knows he can't do it during his regular season. And so they've done that. Now, of course, they've got to get one of their star players back. Nobody knows what the deal is there, but he's supposed to return. So that's what we're gambling. There's no way Gonzaga is not going to the Final Four without him. Okay. But word is we should expect something soon. But what did I say last week about injuries in college basketball? And it's funny, too, as I said that, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? And sure enough, I said it about a player, and sure enough, he was like questionable, but wasn't really like, you're trying to read or understand what the coach is saying, and the coach isn't really saying any positive, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's playing. Not only is he playing, he's playing like a monster. As a kid from Duke. Okay. So Virginia could be interesting as well. That was another team I was really thinking about. Make a Final Four run. So what I would do is, what I would prefer, if I'm thinking about Virginia, is not to beat Duke tomorrow, but I'd like to see Virginia give Duke a game, like a real good game, which I think they're going to, and then take advantage of the odds, and then I'll be a little bit more convinced about them being able to make a Final Four run. Louisville, I mean, I'm so disappointed with Louisville. They might be the most disappointing team for me all season because they have beaten nobody. They can't beat anybody. And I'm surprised they're still 16-1 in the Final Four. All right. And there's even teams down here that I would consider, but I got to see the bracket first. And then the championship odds. Look, we're talking value. Obviously, it's day 1 of our futures school, I guess you could put it, if we're just opening our eyes and wagering a little bit on it. Well, look, Purdue, I just don't think they can win a championship. I just don't think they have those types of athletes. But I do, like I said, I do think they can make that Final Four run. Winning a championship, I don't know about that. Arkansas, we're going to find out a lot about them on Saturday at Florida. Alabama is starting to really interest me. So much so that maybe when we're talking this time next week, I might be adding them to my future board and for my personal self, but then I'll definitely, that'll be a team that when we do it all again, because that's all I'm going to do next week, do it all again and take a look just like we were starting all over. North Carolina, I don't know if they can win a championship, but that's another team that I would look at as far as the Final Four, take a little Final Four money based on the bracket. Okay, now let's go through the standings here. And look, when the American East tournament begins, you know what? Let me take a look at that. That's a good idea. Where is it? I don't think I have enough room. Let's see, type it in. Actually, I do have that saved somewhere. You'll have to excuse me because I have like 1,000 bookmarks. But I do that for times like this. Okay, where are we? Bubble watch. No. Yes. Okay, so here are the tournaments. All right. Let me pop it in here. I can see it better. Oh, let me give you some more. Stupid box. Get rid of that. Cookie notice. Screw you. All right. So let's see. 4th, Atlantic Sun. I think that's the first one. Big South on the 4th. Oh, no. Horizons on the 2nd. All right. And then we got a bunch of other 4ths and a 3rd, Patriot. So there you go. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4ths. Let's see. That puts us on 1, 2. That puts us on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, that's when these tournaments begin. Okay. So, like, for instance, in this one, it's nice to see Vermont not in first place, right? Even though UMBC has been like the new team there in the American East, and NGIT is making a run this year. Okay, let's see what we got here. Here is the AAC, and South Florida, to me, the cream of the crop here. They are definitely the team to beat in this conference. So we'll see what kind of odds they're going to, they'll be heavily favored. So I don't think we can really make much money there. Tulsa has been a huge surprise. Memphis has been a huge surprise in the opposite direction. But this is all South Florida's tournament to win. And I'll tell you what, if I can get even money on South Florida to win this tournament, I'll take it. Atlantic 10, the same exact thing. St. Louis. This is the team to beat, but it'll be tougher in the Atlantic 10 because of both VCU and George Mason. I think those are the two teams may play in the semis, possible. I don't know. We'll see what the bracket looks like there when it comes out. But those are the two teams. Otherwise, I think St. Louis has got this, and it is possible, and I think they deserve it. I think if St. Louis wins out, because they have lost a few games lately on the road, but they can win out from here on in and say they lose the championship game, or let's say they lose the semifinal game against George Mason or VCU, I still think they should. I think they're going to get an at-large. And that's because, again, there are just so many mediocre to undeserving Power 4 teams, or whatever you want to call them, in the I don't even know if they still call, I don't even know what they call it in college basketball, but my drift. The power teams in college basketball are just not very good this year. So I think St. Louis deserves it. ACC. All right, now we get to a big one here. And there you go. I mean, this is the interesting thing is we got the two teams. Duke just played Michigan last week in a monumental matchup. They hadn't played Michigan in such a long time, and 1 versus 2 and all that. And then here you have Virginia and Duke playing this week. And if Virginia wins, they're actually going to be in first place in the ACC. So that's motivation enough for Duke, I would assume. So I wouldn't look at that and say, oh, Duke is going to just have a hangover. No, that's not going to happen. So it's not the reason why I'm taking Virginia in the game. I'm not taking them to win. But that's not the reason I'm taking them with the points. Now, Miami, first-year coach has done a really good job. So that's a good sign for the program. They'll be in it. NC State will be in it. They've got, of course, the hotshot Coach Wade, and that'll make them dangerous come tournament time. North Carolina's going to make it. Clemson, all of a sudden, on a losing streak. And as I mentioned, Louisville, another disappointing team. So they're both playing tomorrow. So, yeah. Other than that, there's only one of the teams it looks like that could make it. That's SMU. Now, I know that some people have them in comfortably, but I don't think that they should be comfortable. They better beat Stanford tomorrow night. They may not. They've lost a couple of games against teams they should have beaten recently on the road. So this is serious time for SMU because I don't think there's going to be any other team besides them that has a shot at the tournament once you get past Louisville. All right. This is not the Atlantic Sun, unfortunately. It's just, there's nothing here. Nothing here. Big 12, of course, we know that the Big 12 has been the top conference in college basketball for a few years, but not this year. Even though the odds of the conference champion, if you're going to bet just conferences, which conference will win the national championship, the Big 12 is the favorite. All right. A little bit over the Big 10. And there you've got another matchup of first versus second with Kansas and Arizona this weekend. Houston's already lost 3 straight all of a sudden. Wow. But haven't I been saying that all throughout this show the last couple of months? Any team, I said, any team can lose 3 in a row. And that's exactly what happened to Houston. That's how much parity there is at the top. And, in a positive and negative way. Parity is not just about strength. It's about not being stellar all the time. All right. Texas Tech, you know what the deal is there. Central Florida right now looking good. BYU, things don't look good because it's not good for BYU. Losing one of their star players, you could already see it's affected them. TCU, they're trying to get in. They play West Virginia. Well, actually, do they play West Virginia? No, who plays West Virginia? That's BYU plays West Virginia. Now, BYU's going to the tournament, but West Virginia, hey, if they want a shot to go to the tournament, then they got to beat BYU. TCU, I think they're in because they have some big wins and that really good close loss to Michigan. But they still have work to do. And Cincinnati, people are already starting to look at Cincinnati now because of their win over Kansas. And they have another big win. But, I mean, that's going to take a lot. I mean, they got to go on a run. They got to keep going on a run. Big East, you know what I feel about Villanova? Then they fucked me last week. What can I say? That's when I talked about them. What did I say? That go ahead, prove it that you deserve to be here. Prove it you deserve to be a lock. You've beaten nobody all season. The only team you beat was Wisconsin, but you did go to overtime against UConn the first time you played them. And UConn to that point, really all season long, bad spread team. Even though they won a lot of games, haven't won a lot of games pretty. And so here's Villanova's shot. This is their chance to prove to everybody, shove it right in my face, which is the reason why I took them, that, hey, we belong. And not only did they lose to UConn at home, they got annihilated. Okay, they are a complete fraud. Okay, next year, I said this 2 months ago, next year's the year for Villanova, not this year. But this is the reason why the second half of the field this year is going to be weak, because teams like Villanova in the second half of the bracket, the tournament, are considered like a top team. They're like a 6 or 7 seed. That puts them at the top of the second half group. That's pretty pathetic. Seton Hall has a big chance to gain some traction if they can upset UConn on Saturday. That ain't happening. And Villanova will take on St. John's a week from tonight, I believe, at St. John's. So they'll get another chance to finally get a big win. Only 3 teams in the tournament. Seton Hall, they're not going to make it unless they pull off some crazy upsets. Yeah, you're not going to get anything here out of this Big Sky. Nothing there, nothing in the Big South except, I should keep in mind, it is interesting. High Point and Winthrop, they've got this nice little rivalry thing going now the last year or so. But High Point does look like the class of the Big South. And considering they won last year, I mean, it may not be the worst team to keep an eye on as far as a big upset in the first day or two. So we'll keep an eye on High Point. All right, okay, so you got Michigan, Nebraska, Michigan State. We got all these teams here. Even Wisconsin's in. All right. Now, UCLA is in good shape. Iowa's in. Look, UCLA and Ohio State and Indiana and USC. Those are the other teams. But again, Iowa's in. UCLA gets the huge win against Illinois, buzzer beater win. Then they annihilate USC. So that puts them in a really good situation right now, but they still have work to do. But they're in right now. Ohio State, the only reason why Ohio State is considered in is because they're above 500 team in the Big Ten. That is it, because they have not beaten anybody. And Indiana, same thing. I mean, I can't make excuses for Indiana. I mean, come on. I mean, they have, I think, a better resume than Ohio State, which is why they're ahead of Ohio State, I believe, in the bracketology. But come on, finish strong. And USC is not finishing strong. Man, they are just falling apart. And yet there are still people who believe they're in, as silly as that sounds. Big West, I think this is going to be interesting because look at the teams here. Look at this. You have really, let's see, look, you got 10, you got 1, 2, 3, 7 teams within 2.5 games of each other. What does that tell you? That tells you that this tournament will be wide open, the Big West. So we're going to get into that. That'll be fun to break down. Colonial, UNC Wilmington continues to play excellent ball like last year. So they look like the class, but Charleston is always going to be dangerous. This looks like a repeat of last year, though. Conference USA, Liberty's had a fantastic season, even though their schedule, they haven't really beaten anybody. One bid league and all that kind of stuff. This to me is more than likely a one and done. Horizon, same thing. Nothing special here. Oakland, I always like to look at Oakland because they've got an excellent tournament coach, and they could be a nice sleeper come tournament time, just for the Horizon. But this is a one and done league. Ivy, Yale is definitely the best team in the conference. They've been the premier team in the Ivy for the last 6 years. And I don't think, and yes, they will be a dangerous team, whoever they play in the first round. Merrimack has done a phenomenal job. We talked about them on this show last week, and they won that game. They've now won 8 straight. Siena, I think that's the other team. So I think we might get a Siena Merrimack championship in the Metro, but Merrimack's the team to beat. Could they do anything in the tournament? Probably not, but I think it's a nice story. I think what they've done from D2 status all the way to winning maybe this conference in their second year, I believe. So, that's a potential team to keep an eye on. And probably a first 4 team. Mid-Eastern, nothing here. This would be a one and done. Mid-American, everybody, of course, is on with Miami, who's playing tonight. They were trailing Western Michigan the last I saw. But look, Miami, are they going to get in no matter what? No matter what. Matter of fact, if they lose before the regular season ends and they lose the tournament, the MAC tournament, they're not going to get in. They, in my mind, they got to go undefeated and then lose in the championship game. That's it. I think that's the only way I believe they get in, is if they lose the championship game undefeated. They might have to, and look, because if they lose, say they lose before the tournament, then they got to win the tournament. Missouri Valley is not as strong as it used to be, but I've said before, I really like Belmont. I think Belmont has the ability, because they could shoot the 3. They've got, and they could score. So I think they are going to be a dangerous team in the first week, first game. So I think they can be one of those rare teams that could actually pull off an upset early. Murray State will probably be the team they'll face, even though Bradley is another dangerous team too. And I don't believe in UIC. Illinois State looked good early this season. They've kind of, but I think Bradley, Murray State, Belmont, those will be the 3 top teams. And look, I think if Bradley or Murray State were to upset Belmont, it'll be a one and done. Belmont's the only team in this conference that has a chance to do something in the tournament. Mountain West. Oh, wow. Look at this. All of a sudden, because the San Diego State's win over Utah State, they're now tied for the conference lead. So all of a sudden, Utah State's lost 2 in a row, as you can see there. New Mexico, San Diego State will play tomorrow. So how does it look right now? Well, all of a sudden, Nevada, they were outdone. They had a bad loss, and then it looked like it was over. It looked like it was time to just say nighty-night. And then all of a sudden, they get back-to-back big wins, and they are right in it again. This right now, if the season ended today, it may just be a 2-bid league. It may just be. But I still think there's a chance for 4. No more than 5, no more than 4. That would have to be New Mexico and Nevada making a case. So I don't remember the schedule for New Mexico, but after the San Diego State matchup, they need to win more than San Diego State, though. And look, both teams need to win. Because, I mean, there might be some people who could go, oh, maybe it's a 1-bid league this year. This is where, like I was saying with St. Louis, this is not going to be fair more than ever this year if you don't give a little bit of a break to some of these teams and let Ohio State and Georgia and those types of teams go into the tournament with no resume, no major resume, no big wins, like 1 big win on the year or something like that, instead of, say, a second, third, or fourth team from one of these conferences that is maybe every bit as good as the first team. So that would be very unfair. But all those teams have work to do. Wait, LIU is all of a sudden putting something together there in the Northeast. Ohio Valley, this used to be a much better conference a few years ago, but not anymore. Patriot, that's pretty cool to see Navy up there. So Navy is running away with the Patriot. And, they're pretty good, like once every 5 or 6 years for a surprise, tournament game. Southeast. And look, Florida right now, they're going to win this conference in the regular season. But all of a sudden, Alabama, as I said before, they're really getting hot right now. They've got that 7-game win streak you could see there. Arkansas, we'll find out on Saturday how for real they are at Florida. Missouri's got a big, still got work to do. Vandy's in. Texas A&M is in, but they still need to win games they're supposed to, including against Texas on Saturday. And Kentucky's in as well. They've got Georgia in, and Auburn, and Texas. And look, Auburn, we're still dealing with this. 15-13, 6-9 in the conference. And this is not a strong conference this year. And Georgia's 7-8. They're not even 500 in this conference. And if Texas doesn't watch it, they could end up under 500 too. In my opinion, no. All the other teams here, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that enough? I mean, how many more teams do we need from the SEC, which is not a good conference this year? I mean, can you take 8? I'm sorry, you do not need Texas, Georgia, or Auburn. In the Southern, East Tennessee State, looking good again. But, yeah, this will be a one and done. Stephen F. Austin's back, and nobody thought that was going to happen too. But they've had a big year. So it's Stephen F. Austin and McNeese State. They're going to go head-to-head. That's your championship game, more than likely in the Southland Championship. And we'll see. We'll find out whether or not either one of those teams, the winner of the Southland, can do something with that first game. You can forget about the SWAC. Same thing with the Summit. The Summit doesn't really give you much. St. Thomas was supposed to be the team to beat, but North Dakota State's done a good job. Those will probably be the 2 top teams, and maybe we'll see them in the championship game. I doubt they will do much in the tournament. Sun Belt, and look at this. Check this out. We just talked about, what other conference we talked about that did this? Look at this. you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams within 2 games of each other in the Sun Belt. I mean, Troy is still the one that kind of sticks out for me, but whoever wins this, I mean, unless I change my mind and all of a sudden I see something that I wasn't aware of, or some team just gets hot going into the tournament and starts smoking teams or whatever the case may be, then maybe I change my mind, because the Sun Belt can be dangerous every once in a while, but I doubt it. It probably one and done. The big story here is going to be whether Santa Clara can be the third team. St. Mary's is looking really good. The big showdown, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, coming up on Saturday night. Right now, the way it looks, Santa Clara cannot lose. I think they have another game, maybe one more. And so whoever they play, they can't lose if they still have a game left. And then they got to go to the tournament. And I'm not saying they won't make it if they lose to St. Mary's, say in the semis, but if they beat St. Mary's, then I think there's a good chance that we'll have 3 teams in the WCC this year. Yeah, this is not a good conference either, the WAC. Okay, so there you go. That is what's going on in the conferences. Now let's pop up those picks again, and let's go through it. By the way, big game coming up. Actually, a big game that's already underway in Illinois tonight between Michigan and Illinois. Check this out. In this game, Illinois has beaten Michigan 9 straight times. Okay. And they're 8-1 in those games since 2019, winning the last 3 in the series by 74 points total. So I think Michigan, coming off the loss to Duke, I get the feeling that this is a game that they're actually going to be taking seriously. Illinois, meanwhile, is 2-3 in their last 5 games. So they've kind of cooled off a little bit, but all 3 losses overtime. All right, now we get into the Saturday games. Oh, this time around, I decided to, instead of do it in chronological order, I decided to do it in preference. All right, so Virginia is my 6th favorite pick of the week. And this is why. All right. So they're playing their best basketball of the year. They've won 9 straight. Duke, meanwhile, we know about Duke, right? All right. So Duke has beaten Virginia 3 straight up ATS by a total of 53 points. So why would I take Virginia? A couple of major reasons. One, first of all, even though it's been a week, they're not going to be as up in this game. I don't care if it's an ACC game or not. They're not. Than the Michigan game. So they'll be a little bit down. But Virginia will be completely up. I mean, 9 straight. This is a benchmark game. Major opportunity for them to see what they have. And also one of those situations where, as you'll see when we talk about some of these games, picks, is I have to go with teams, or if I'm going to go with teams, I'm taking teams that I know at this time of year have something to play for. And this is also very important with Virginia. They have been a dog 4 times, I believe, this year. 4, which doesn't say much when it comes to, again, this is the ACC. Well, what can I tell you? They've won all 4 of them. Dog 4 times, won all 4. So are they going to win this one? Probably not. We all know that. But hey, you know what? The money line will be nice. Why not? Throw a couple of bucks there on the money line. Maybe do a parlay or something. All right. UConn is going to be one of my picks as well, as you can see. I'm just going to ride this for as long as it lasts. Up until maybe the Big East Championship game against St. John's, if that happens. But we'll see. Meaning, UConn, as I said with the Villanova deal, so then they annihilate Villanova, and then they annihilate their next opponent, which was St. John's. So they beat up both St. John's and Villanova by a total of 38 points. So they did something they haven't really done all year, even though they've won some big games earlier this season. was that they just, Big East especially, they haven't done this, is they, against good teams, is they just back-to-back blew them out. So I'm going to be like, okay, you're going to start blowing teams out now? You want to get on a run? I'll back you, especially because Seton Hall, I just don't believe in. Now, you could say after those 2 games, UConn probably going to be a little bit down. Seton Hall is going to be fired up. Why wouldn't you take Seton Hall? And yeah, a lot of maybe most of the time, this would be one of those situations where I'd be all over Seton Hall. Keep this in mind. Even though they've won 3 out of 4, the one loss was to DePaul. All right. Now, DePaul team isn't as bad as they used to be, but it's DePaul, and it was at home. So you see what I'm saying? This is like, there's just no match here. Even though when these 2 teams played earlier this year at Seton Hall, it was a 5-point win for UConn. It was a competitive game. But again, like I said, I'm not doing this for any other reason other than they've just blown out the 2 best teams in the conference, and let's see if that continues. And I'm gonna put a few bucks on them that it will, but we'll see. Maybe they come right back down to UConn Earth and win the game and not cover. Missouri. I have to really like Missouri in this one, and that's because out of all these teams that I've taken, they are one of the bubble teams that is on the inside, but barely, and cannot afford a loss to a sub 500 team. They cannot afford this. So this is a huge, and they've won 2 out of 3. They've covered the last 3. They beat Mississippi State earlier this year, the 3rd straight win against Mississippi State, straight up ATS. And I just think that because at least, and we talked about them last week, at least now they're starting to play as good as they played all year. You know, the past few weeks, they're starting to play good ball now. And you can't lose this game. You just can't. So if I'm going to invest my money in a game, this is the type of game I want to invest in, that I know that this team is going to, be up for this one. So just got to go out and take care of business. And I am going over chronologically as I do this, by the way. A couple games I'm not taking. Louisville is a 1-point favorite at Clemson. And I don't know how anybody would want to wager in that game. Like I said, Clemson's lost 4 straight. Louisville is 1-2 straight up, 0-3 against the spread in their last 3. Both of those teams are just, and these are ACC teams. So yeah, it's, if I had to take the game, I guess I'd go with Louisville, but I just wouldn't. And Clemson, it's like, it's 5 straight. Maybe I'd take Clemson. 5 straight losses. Yeah, maybe I would take. Now you know why I'm not taking the game. All right, San Diego State and New Mexico. That's at 2:00. And again, like I said, major game for both teams. The Lobos are a 2.5-point favorite at home. They're coming off a loss at Nevada on Tuesday. We'll get to Nevada in a little bit. San Diego State, meanwhile, coming off that big win against Utah State after losing to Colorado State, which could have been a killer for them. So they came right back, won the game they needed to. They did beat New Mexico earlier this year as a 4-point at home by 4 as a 5-point home favorite. This is they're tied for first. New Mexico is in 3rd in the conference. So again, if I had who needs the game more, I don't think these teams are going into this one knowing they both need it. But really, who needs it more? It's New Mexico. If I was going to take the game, I would take San Diego State. But this should be a good one. Very important game. Also, some other games at 2:00. Vandy's at Kentucky. Vandy is a 1.5-point favorite. Both teams will be dancing. Vandy beat Kentucky by 25 points last month as a 5-point home favorite. Kentucky, meanwhile, was dropped 3 out of 4, but Kentucky's got the home game. They got revenge. So UCLA, Minnesota. Minnesota is a 1-point favorite, and we talked about this on the show on Thursday. And I knew this was going to happen. Not only this game, but I also knew it was going to happen with the Missouri game. I said those two. We didn't have the odds, but I said those are two games that I might like: Missouri and UCLA, because the odds are going to be low because they're both on the road and they both really need those games, and they're playing teams that are not going to the tournament. But I'm not taking UCLA like I'm taking Missouri, and the only reason I'm not doing it is because you really have to give Minnesota some credit here. I mean, they have a coach who is going to turn that program around. And so I'd be really stoked right now. I mean, it's the same coach who did a really good job in the Mountain West last year. Was it the Mountain West last year? Where was he? And it was that. Look, that was the type of job that got him the job at Minnesota. And when he by the way, we're talking about Nico Medved, when he was able to get the job. When we talked about it on the first show, we talked about how again, this is a matter of fact, even in my notes, it says it right here: excellent hire, maybe next year. And that's exactly what I think you're going to see. I think this team, they've already shown some ability to do it this year. Because remember, last year, there was a team that went into the tournament that on this network we were really excited about. And that was Colorado State. And Colorado State made this incredible run in the Mountain West, and it looked really dangerous, and they're playing great ball. And we were like, man, this team, yeah, I mean, depending on who they play, of course, but yeah, that's going to be a team to take come tournament time. That's going to be, and they really did not let us down. They did not let us down. Well, that coach who did that with Colorado State last year, he's with Minnesota. So again, but here's the deal. Check this out. Minnesota has already beaten Michigan State, Iowa, and Indiana at home. Okay. So they're dangerous. Now, this is weird, but interesting. Their number 2 scorer and rebounder, Jalen Crocker Johnson, not playing, supposedly. He's been out the last 4 games, and they've won 2 out of the 4 and covered 3 out of the 4. And check this out. In the 2 wins, they won by 36 points. And in the loss, one of the losses, they lost at Michigan by just 10 points as a 21-point road dog. So that's a good loss for Minnesota, and a nice, which is kind of, again, it's not a deep team scoring-wise, talent-wise. And like their second best player on the team hasn't played, and they're actually still playing maybe better than they were playing with. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what that says. But anyway, they're a dangerous team. But the thing with UCLA is, remember I said Illinois with the overtime losses and mentioned UCLA. Of course, UCLA had the big win, last second win against Illinois in overtime, follows it up with a big blowout win against USC. The problem is they have to be able to go take a trip, go to Minnesota, and prove that you can win a game like this, because they have not played well on the road, especially in these types of trips. This is why this is going to tell us a lot about UCLA. Minnesota's going nowhere, but UCLA, if they can get some momentum going, get into the tournament. We know Mick Cronin could coach. They've got some dangerous players. They could be a dangerous team. But they gotta use this. It's now or never. 2-game win streak, big wins back to back, beat Minnesota, and keep this going. And then we'll keep an eye on them. But it's not going to be easy. All right, Texas Tech at Iowa State also at 2:00. No Toppin, so we'll see exactly. This is a good benchmark game for Texas Tech to see exactly what they've got, what they're made of. But yeah, I don't even. I've talked enough about Texas Tech this season. And I just can't talk about them much anymore. I'm so upset about that. Kansas and Arizona, as I mentioned, huge one. I mean, this is so strange. Arizona's a 9-point favorite at home against a Kansas team that just beat them as a 4-point home dog a few weeks ago. This is first place, second place, 9 points, and Koa Pete. Now, we don't know about Koa Pete still. So remember, check it out, see if he's going to play. But hey, just like Minnesota, it doesn't matter, right? Because Koa Pete's been out the last 3 games, and Arizona's 3-0 without him. They're only 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, though. And Kansas is 18-10 against the spread this year. Okay, so now check this out. Kansas, since January 13th, these are the teams they've beaten. Texas Tech, when they were loaded. Arizona, Houston, BYU, Iowa State. They've beaten every top team in the Big 12. All right. But just like St. John's to UConn, you kind of feel that even though it's a big spread, Arizona probably win big. But realistically, if we actually felt Kansas like really was going to come to play and they're going to show everybody, then this would be a good money line play. It's just that this is one of those games at the end of the regular season, and we've already beaten that team, that it's dangerous. Texas A&M. I almost made this a pick because, as you know, I like Texas A&M better than Texas. It's only 3.5. They've already beaten Texas, and Texas has now dropped their last 2, including a game against Georgia last week, which, as we said, was a major game for both teams. It was a bubble game, and Georgia handled them easily. As a matter of fact, Texas lost both recent games by 11 or more. So they've got to stop this slide fast, or else they won't be in the tournament. Their last 2 games are at Arkansas and home against Oklahoma. So they could easily lose 4 straight before the game against Oklahoma. And if that happens, they're going to go into the SEC tournament, or they better go into the SEC tournament on the out. That's why this game is very important, because they're not going to beat Arkansas on the road. Anyway, I still like Texas A&M, but if I'm going to take them, I'm going to take the money line. Nebraska's at USC. I saw the line was 3 and it jumped to 5. I almost took Nebraska in this one. The only reason I'm staying away is because USC is so desperate. That's it. And Nebraska is playing for nothing. But keep this in mind. Nebraska is just 4-4 in their last 8. And their 4 wins were against non-tourney teams. Their 4 losses, tourney teams. Problem is, what is USC? We don't know. Are they a tourney team or not? Well, if Nebraska beats them, they're not. And if USC beats Nebraska, well, USC is. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, I still think Nebraska is a good play here. They're just better than USC. And USC they've lost 4 straight. They lost by 36 to Illinois and 19 at UCLA on Tuesday. So not only have they been losing games, but they've been getting blown out in some of them. BYU at West Virginia. They're a 2-point favorite in this one. They're just 11-17 against the spread this season. West Virginia, they're not a realistic bubble team, but if they could win this game, they will be. They've lost 3 straight to Oklahoma State, Utah, and TCU. So, yeah, I think BYU would be a good play here. Rebound from their loss against Central Florida the other day. I think that's what will happen. But I just don't know what to think about BYU's mood right now. Alabama and Tennessee. So as you can see, that's our second best play this week. And that is on Saturday. That is because even though Phelan may not play, and he's their best player, okay? He is one of the top young players in the game. He leads the team in scoring and assists. This team has won 7 straight games. Alabama has. And Tennessee, meanwhile, is playing their best ball of the year. They've won 8 out of 10. And they also beat Alabama already at Alabama. And they've beaten Alabama 5 straight, covering 4-5. So that was last month. They were a 3-point road dog. Now they're a 5.5-point home favorite. But I like Alabama in this one because I think they're better than Tennessee. And of course, I'm going to be all over Alabama if Phelan plays, but I'm willing to take the chance on Alabama now, hoping that if Phelan plays, the line drops a few points. I get him now, especially the money line. But I kind of like the fact that they've already lost to Tennessee this year. So at least I know that they should have some motivation in this game, to keep the winning streak alive. There's still a chance for them to catch Florida. They're 2 games back. Let's say they get upset by Arkansas and Alabama wins. It'll be a game back. But because Florida beat them, I just don't see Alabama's going to realistically have a chance to catch them. Anyway, but I think a nice revenge situation, a hot team, and a better team. So that's why I'm going with Alabama. I mentioned SMU. They really need this game. They're a 2-point favorite at Stanford, who's won 3 out of the last 5. SMU, like I said, they lost the last 2 road games to California on Wednesday and Syracuse. All right. Look, I don't think SMU should be in the tournament. And if they lose this game, I definitely don't think they should be in the tournament. Stanford, meanwhile, we've talked about them a few times this year. They have an excellent freshman guard, and they also have a good coach. I really believe they've got the right coach at Stanford to start turning things around. And look, they've had a 17-win season. Then we get to the final games here late at night. Villanova, St. John's. St. John's favored by 6.5. I'm staying away from that game because I just don't know what to expect from St. John's right now. And Villanova, again, they need this game desperately. So we'll see. St. John's beat Villanova by 7 as a 2-point road favorite last month. And they are trying to rebound after a 13 winning streak was snapped. So we'll see how they react. Also at 8 o'clock, we have one of our top games, and that's Central Florida against Baylor. I don't understand the spread at all. I really don't. If Central Florida was a bigger brand, I'd be like, they'd be my top pick. But it's Central Florida, and I don't know if I trust them as much as I would a brand team. But maybe that's the reason the point spread's 2.5. And if that's the case, then I'm all over Central Florida. They've won 3 straight up against the spread. The last 3 is, of course, well, they've won 3 straight up against the spread, including upsetting BYU the game after BYU beat Iowa State last Saturday. The thing to keep an eye on, but again, this is what's so weird, is that Riley Kugel, their number 2 scorer, has not played the last 2 games, and yet Central Florida won both games, including the victory at BYU. Also, check this out. Baylor, they are the 14th seeded team in the Big 12, and Central Florida is 6th. Central Florida is at home, and they're only a 2.5-point favorite. And Baylor is 11-16 against the spread. We've been picking games against Baylor. Like, this is like probably the 5th time I've bet against Baylor this year, and I've won all of them. So these spreads, it started with the Houston one. That was the first one. When Houston, believe it or not, it actually happened. But early, about a month ago, Houston went to Baylor as a 2-point favorite. Okay? And look, it's because Baylor has a brand, and that's why they get this recognition. But again, they're 11-16 against the spread, so that just shows you that they're not bucking those numbers. And they're 4-12 straight up in their last 16 games. So yeah, I mean, and if you look at let's see, their top win, just trying to see for Baylor. Oh yeah, if you look at it just during their 16-game streak, I mentioned 4 wins. All 4 of the wins were against non-tourney teams. And their best win the entire season for Baylor, the best win, was against San Diego State, who's on the bubble right now. Maybe they get in, maybe they don't. Meaning, it's possible that they may not have a win against a tourney team all year. And right now, Central Florida is in. So, yes, I can't see Central Florida thinking that they're in. So they know these are important games and they're at home. I would take that spread before it goes up. I just don't understand why it's 2.5. Again, maybe it's because of the Kugel injury, but they just beat BYU without him. Virginia Tech's at North Carolina at 8:30. This is a dangerous game because Virginia Tech has covered 8 out of the last 11. And I mentioned a few weeks back, I think I thought they could have been a bubble team, a dangerous team, but things just didn't work out for them. There's still time. If they can pull off an upset against North Carolina, maybe they get back on the bubble. But keep in mind, North Carolina, without their stud freshman, Caleb Wilson, he's been one of the best freshmen in the country this year. He's dealing with a wrist injury, so keep an eye on that because he could return. And the story of the show is that North Carolina 3-1 without him. Arkansas and Florida. Now you've got one of the big matchups of the day. But check this out. This is a weird thing. Florida is first against second in the SEC. Arkansas has won 7 out of 9. Florida is on a 8-game win streak, covering 6 out of 8. They've won 13 out of 14, and they've covered 11 out of 14. So Florida playing great ball right now. Arkansas also playing maybe their best ball of the year, and they're 18-9 against the spread this year. Okay, so all of this you would think would say, yeah, it should be a competitive game. This should be a good game. But check this out: the favorite in the series, the last 8 times they played, has won and covered all 8. 7 of the 8 games were decided by 8 or more points. That's some strange history. I still think Arkansas is the way to go. That's the reason I did not make this part of my picks, though, is that some strange history. When you get these rivals, these conference rivals together, to me, those are the historical trends I care about the most, because it's just something. Sometimes some rival has on you. It happens. That is a fact. But I still think Arkansas, the way they're playing, should be a good play. And look, if Arkansas can pull off the upset here, now all of a sudden they're the team that I said that they could be when the season began, and that is a Final Four sleeper. But they got to kind of prove it and win a game like this to do that. The thing is, because where are they with the odds? Arkansas 40-1. Okay, now that's to win the championship. That means you're getting what, 10-1 for the Final Four? A little bit less than that. 8-1. So it's not a bad idea. The problem is if they beat Florida, that number drops. So you know what I'm going to do is, if they upset Florida, I'm going to be taking a look at those futures right away and see if I can get them before they drop. Because if they win and I can still get those numbers or something close to it, I'm taking them. All right. And then the last late games, we're going to, and we've got, 2 of them on the board? No, 3 of them. 3 late games on the board. So let's start with the number 8, Utah State. Now, this one I wasn't thinking of that wasn't even on my mind. But then all of a sudden it was like, wait a second. I remember Utah State lost to Grand Canyon. Utah State lost their last 2. Grand Canyon, they're out of it. They've been too inconsistent over the last several weeks. A couple of bad losses. I think they just lost to Wyoming. That's their death knell. Meanwhile, Utah State needs a win to get over this 2-game losing streak deal. And now they get to play a team that's been erratic lately and that beat them. So I think Utah State's going to get the revenge on Grand Canyon. And that's why I'm willing to go ahead and take them there. The other team I like, Nevada. So again, you take a look at Nevada, Steve Alford's team, and just like that, they're a bubble team. So they had the big wins back-to-back against New Mexico and Utah State, 2 of the top teams in the conference, and they beat them back-to-back. Okay. And this is, what happened was they go on the road to San Jose State, one of the bottom teams, and they lose. And at that point, it's over. It's over. We're done. It's next year. The only way this turns around, we're going to pretty much have to win every game and maybe lose the championship game in the tournament. Well, they're doing that. They beat, like I said, beat New Mexico, beat Utah State. And now they get their rivals, UNLV here. Now, UNLV is no slouch. UNLV is capable. They've beaten a couple of good teams. They're not a bad team. They're not a tourney team, but they're not a bad team. They're not San Jose State, Wyoming, Colorado State. They're not that. Fresno, they're like They're just below Grand Canyon, Boise State, that sort of stuff. And they've won 4 out of 6, including winning at Boise State. They also split Grand Canyon. So again, this is not about UNLV is a slouch. No, this is just about I'm rolling with Nevada now. They've had those 2 wins, and they can't afford this loss. They can't afford any more losses. That's it. They put themselves in a bad spot. They must keep winning. And so I'm going to go ahead and take them. And their last 2 games are against Wyoming and Air Force. Meaning, if they can win this game, this is the tougher game. They win this game, they could go now into the conference tournament winning 5 straight at 22-9. And if they could find a way, maybe it would be a bubble game then. Maybe it would be Nevada against New Mexico, and whoever wins is in the tournament. So, because I don't know, I tend to think you're not going to get that 4th team because you're going to have to play each other, that sort of stuff. Like New Mexico is playing San Diego State. Anyway, Nevada has beaten UNLV 4 out of the last 5 straight up ATS. They beat them last month by 13 points as a 7-point home favorite. 16-12 against spread this year, which is nice. 9-4 against the spread in their last 13, which is also nice. Okay. And then the last game is the top one. And I'm riding St. Mary's. All right. Now, it didn't work out last week with Santa Clara. But I'm doing the same thing. And yet I got to feel I'm in a better position because I've got a proven team. Okay. Santa Clara lost their chance. They just did. They were at home. It was the game of the year. It was the game of the decade for them. And they just couldn't pull it off. Doesn't mean they're out of it. They still have a chance, as we talked about. But this is a major rivalry. And even though Gonzaga beat St. Mary's in the championship game last year and beat them earlier this year at home, St. Mary's covered. St. Mary's is 3-2 straight up, 4-1 against the spread, the last 5 against Gonzaga. So this has been the best run for the program's history against Gonzaga during this rivalry. This is a serious St. Mary's, we can play with you. And, I mean, just check this out. They've won 17 of the last 19, losing by 8 to Santa Clara on the road and by 8 to Gonzaga on the road. Those were the losses. They've also won 7 straight, covering 6 out of the last 7 overall. And this is the last game of regular season, by the way. This is it. These 2 teams could play in the championship game again. St. Mary's, yes, no question. They need to gain more. They're still a bubble team. Most people believe they're in. But, I mean, if you lose to Gonzaga and let's say you lose the first game you play in the WCC tournament, I don't know, maybe play San Francisco. I don't know if they get like a double bye and you're in the semis. I don't know, but that could put them in trouble. That could put them in bubble trouble. Gonzaga, meanwhile, remember, there's no Braden Huff. It's the same reason I was saying before. They cannot make a serious tournament run without Braden Huff. When are they going to get him back? We'll find out. I mean, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this anytime I'm taking Gonzaga from now on or going against them because you just never know when all of a sudden the kid's playing. So keep an eye on that. Gonzaga, meanwhile, they've won 5 straight up and against the spread, including their win against Santa Clara. Again, that was an 8-point win in that one. But I'm going to go ahead and take St. Mary's. And I know I'm going to get St. Mary's game, their best game. We're going to get Gonzaga's best game. The difference is one of the top 2 players for Gonzaga is not playing. And St. Mary's, their top players are. So I'll take St. Mary's and the 2 to even up the series. And then we'll probably see these 2 teams in the championship to maybe split it out and go for the win. Gonzaga will look for back-to-back WCC wins if that happens. Okay, so that is going to wrap things up. Next week, again, we only have, what do we have? Again, next week when we start, will be the first show that we're going to do with the tournament starting. So let me just take a look once more at the schedule so I could see, pop it up on the screen. Okay. So let's once again, because next week was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, March 6th. Okay. So give me this. So that means the Atlantic Sun starting before then. Big South. What else? Let's see. Atlantic Sun, Big South, Horizon, Metro, Missouri Valley. Wow, a lot of them. Northeast, Ohio Valley, Patriot, Summit, Sunbelt. Oh, and WCC starts before our next show. Look, this is what we're going to do, because I don't know. I have to, because I don't have odds. We're not going to have odds for these things until these brackets come out. I'm gonna, let's see. I don't even think. Yeah, I don't think they have any odds for this. Yeah, see, we don't have anything yet for the tournament. So what we're going to do is I will pop in and do a report between now and next Friday, or whenever these conference odds come out. I'll do a video and let you know, only if I see, out of all those conferences, only if I see value in picking a tournament winner. Then I'll let you know. Because again, just taking a look at this, what did we start with? Yeah, let's see. Atlantic Sun. Yeah, don't care. Let's see. Big South. High Point, but they're going to be a heavy favorite, so I'm not going to give you anything there. Horizon, probably not going to. Oh, Oakland. I'll tell you right now, Oakland. As long as you can get like good number, 4, 5, 6 to 1 odds, 8 to 1 odds, whatever it's going to be, I would consider Oakland as a team that could make some waves in that tournament. There's the Metro Atlantic. And again, I told you Merrimack, so you're not going to get anything. Siena, Merrimack, those are the teams to beat. Missouri Valley, like I said, if you can get something on Bradley, but I don't think you will. So, look, I'll tell you what, if Belmont, I think Belmont will be a good price, though, meaning you'll get plus money because of Murray State, Bradley, and so forth. So I think Belmont, I'd play Belmont. I'd play them as an even money, 2 to 1 pick, whatever they're going to be. I'd go that route. That's Missouri Valley. And then the Northeast, nope, not interested. Ohio Valley, not interested. Patriot, also not interested, because Navy is going to be a heavy favorite. I mean, Colgate and American will probably be the two teams, but I'm not really, that's not some sexy picks there. Summit, yeah, no, you're not going to get anything here. Like I said, I think the top 2 teams will probably win it, but I don't see a big difference between the top 2, so I don't think it's worth there. And again, the Sun Belt, that could be the one. The Sun Belt, and then the WCC. Look, Santa Clara is not going to win the championship because they're not beating both of these teams in a span of 2 days. That's not going to happen. But you know what? They're going to be a big dog because of it. They could probably be 8, 10, 12 to 1 odds or something like that. So it could be fun to just do that. But anyway, seriously, it's probably not going to happen. The Sun, out of all of these tournaments, other than what I've said, like I said, I think Belmont is a good one. Belmont would be a really good even money play. But this one, that would be interesting. So you know what? I wouldn't count on me doing something before next Friday, because I don't really, like I said, I just went through them all, and I don't think there's anything other than what I said. This would be the only conference to take a look at. When does this one again begin? This is okay. So the Sun Belt because depending on when it begins, this will begin on the 3rd. So pretty early in the week. What is that, Tuesday or something? But yeah, I don't. Well, that's right. Wait, take a look at the other dates. The other dates say Sunbelt. Yeah, so their championship game would be a few days after. That would be a Monday, I think. So we'll probably be before the semis when we talk. Yeah, unless there's a team in here. And if there is, I'll tell you this. This is another reason you could check out our community page at Proline TV. That's where we always put up stuff. I mean, if you want to become a member, and there's a link in the description of this video where you can get discounted picks every week, all month long, from Jim Feist, Mark Lawrence. But you got to check it out. We have that available. So in the community page, you'll see that option for the memberships too. That's where you get the memberships. But I'll also put notices like, hey, schedule change or whatever, stuff like this. So if I notice and I look at the odds to win the championship and think, hey, you know what? I think there's a good sleeper here at 10-1 to win the Sun Belt, I'll put it in there. Anyway, yeah, just always check that out. And the community page is also for you guys. You know, if you don't want to start something in the video section, comment there. The best way to comment is on the community page so everybody can check it out. So that's going to wrap it up. I'll see you guys again next Friday. Don't forget to do this. And also coming up tomorrow for NASCAR fans, I will be on to go over the NASCAR race, the first road course race of the season. And we're going to go over qualifying and practice and all that, and the potential picks. We're going to go over the DraftKings contest as well. And keep that in mind too. We're in the DraftKings contest for both NASCAR and golf. So we're starting to get into that. And if you guys do that as well, let me know, and I'll give you as much information to help you out to win your contests. So it's going to be a great month of March. I'll see you guys in March. Our first official March show for college basketball should be on Wednesday on Jim Feist's handicapping show. And then I'll return with Jim and Mark Lawrence and Andy on the Playbook show on Thursday. And then I'll do this again on Friday. So that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I'll see you again real soon.